So this is Carnegie Mellon 21499. This is going to be just a brief introduction to probability. And then I have written a book, The Probability Lifesaver, which you can get if you want to see more details, but there's lots of other books you can look at. So the first thing is probability density. So for us, it's going to be a function p of x such that two things are true. It's greater than or equal to 0, and the integral from minus infinity to infinity of p of x dx is 1. And then what we might do is we might say x is a random variable, and we use uppercase letters, and we'll say it has density maybe p sub x, or maybe f sub x. And we put the x as a subscript to remind ourselves where the density is associated to. It's associated to the random variable x. And if I have some probability distribution like this, if I want to find what's the probability it takes on a value between a and b, I just calculate the area under the curve. So one of the big questions we study in, it was moving before. So one of the questions we often study is, what is the limit? What does it converge to? And how would we calculate that? So the hope is that if you know the moments of a distribution, then you know the distribution. So the kth moment is the integral of x to the k p of x dx. And the hope is that if you understand all the moments of a distribution, you know the distribution. There's a great series of papers, do you know the shape of a drum, if you can hear how it can vibrate? And the answer is sadly no, that there can be different drums that have the same spectrum, but different shapes. It turns out that we have the same problem here. And the reason is real analysis is too kind. Real analysis is the democratic subject of mathematics that lets all functions in. It has very little standards. Complex analysis is the snooty elite country club of mathematics. And for complex analysis, if you've taken complex analysis, if you are differentiable, that is a huge condition in complex analysis. In real analysis, it's not that hard to be differentiable. In real analysis, if you're differentiable once, you may not be differentiable twice. In complex analysis, if you're differentiable once, you're differentiable infinitely often. In real analysis, you may not equal your Taylor series expansion. In complex analysis, you will equal your Taylor series expansion. There's a lot of differences. Consider the function f of x is e to the negative 1 over x squared if x is not 0, and 0 if x equals 0. If you want to calculate the derivative of this function, as long as you're not at 0, it's easy to calculate the derivative. The challenge is calculating the derivative at 0. How would you calculate it? So how would you calculate the derivative? So you go back to the definition of the derivative. F of 0 plus h minus f of 0 over h. You'll then use L'Hopital's rule, and you get, in fact, that every derivative at 0 is 0. It's a nice exercise. Such a function should not be allowed to exist. What that means is if I give you, say, this Taylor series expansion for sine, maybe it's not the Taylor series expansion for sine. Maybe it's sine plus 1701 f of x. Because all of the derivatives at 0 are 0, you won't notice the difference. So what this means is, sadly, a Taylor series expansion may not be unique. There can be two different infinitely differentiable functions that have the same Taylor series expansion at a point. So this is where I say there's sometimes abstract nonsense that you need to deal with these subjects. That's my job as the professor, to just handle the stuff like that so that you're not spending your time learning that part of the theory. But because something like this exists, it's not enough to know the moments. If you know the moments, that's not enough to uniquely determine the distribution. You need a little bit more, but that's my job. So why should this work? Well, I've been doing everything in a continuous case, but you could also imagine we have a finite probability space. We only take on, say, n values. So you have maybe x1, x2, xn are the points where things happen, and they happen with probability maybe p1, p2, pn. And so the sum of the p's would be 1, and the p's would all be non-negative. And then the kth moment would be the sum of PL XL to the K. So this would be the sum of the probability that X equals XL times the value XL to the kth power. And then the hope is, if you know these moments, you know the underlying distribution. So think back to polynomial. If you know the roots of the polynomial, you know the polynomial up to a scaling factor. If I tell you the roots are 1 and 3, then the polynomial is some constant times x minus 1, x minus 3. If I tell you the coefficients of the polynomial, you should be able to pass from that to what the roots are. You should be able to go back and forth between the two. So let's imagine we have just two values, x1 and x2. So all I have to do is figure out what the two probabilities are, and I know the distribution. Let's say I know the mean. So I know the first moment, mu1, is just going to be p1 x1 plus p2 x2. Is this enough to determine the probability distribution? I have too many unknowns. What if I also knew the second moment? P1 x1 squared plus p2 x2 squared. They're actually in a little bit better shape. If we do know the mean, well, since we do know that p1 plus p2 equals 1, if we know x1, we really do know x2. If we know p1, we really do know p2. We want to find, what's the probabilities of the different things. And the idea is to have a system of equations. And if we have enough moments that are known, we should be able to solve for all the unknowns. And this is essentially how all these random matrix theory papers work, is we want to calculate the moments of the probability distribution. And once we calculate the moments of the probability distribution, the idea is there's some kind of abstract nonsense that you can use so that if you know the moments, you know the distribution. For all the projects that you're doing, you don't have to worry about that stuff. There's a black box procedure you can use. You just need to calculate the moments in terms of these eigenvalues. And that's where you're going to get these combinatorics coming in. That's where you're going to get these various sums that you need to study. So is there anything else in probability as long as the camera's rolling?